let's briefly discuss how to use the Rails server, just so that we're clear. So if I go to Nitrous, we have a Rails server running here in this tab. And as long as it's running in this console tab, we can view our progress in the preview URL from here, right? And so to get to that URL again, we just type preview and then port 3000 and it'll open up. But now, what if we want to shut this down for some reason? And there are going to be times when we need to shut down the Rails server. All we have to do is make sure that we're clicking down here and then hit Control-C on our keyboard. Control-C simultaneously. And if we hit that, we'll see that it has exited the server and we get the command prompt back. And now when we go back to our preview tab and refresh, it's not going to work. It's going to ask us if the server is running. So one thing to note, if you ever get stuck or if you're having problems, you can always go back to the boxes screen here in Nitrous and just restart or start it up if it's not on. And that might help alleviate some problems. That's always just a good rule of thumb. You can restart it if you're having problems. And we'll just go back to our IDE screen here. And so now just remember, in order to start our Rails server and view our progress in the browser, we have to be inside the blog directory, right? This is the application directory. This is where all the application files and folders are. And so to do that, we hit cd workspace /blog. And now the prompt changes and we're in there. And then remember, to start up the Rails server, all we do is type bundle exec Rails server. And you can even do a shortcut. You can just type Rails S and hit enter. And you'll see that the server is started up. Now, one last thing to note about this is that this tab, this console tab, is now dedicated to logging all of our server activity, and therefore we can't write extra commands down here. And the way around that is we just hit this plus sign right here, and then we need to navigate back to our Rails directory right here to continue writing Rails commands. So we'll take a look at that next. Now, just briefly, I want to show you a few quick tips on how to use Nitrous effectively. So I'm going to go over here and find this public folder and unfold that and just go to this 404.html file right here and just make some temporary changes. We're going to undo every change that we make here, but I just want to point out some of the things that you can do. Now, if you pull up another tab here in Google in the browser and then search for Nitrous keyboard shortcuts in Google, you'll find this first result here from their help website. Okay, so it's help.nitrous.io. And then if you go to /IDE-shortcuts, you can see all of these really useful shortcuts. And you need to be aware of some of these depending on whether you're on a Windows machine or a Mac machine. So you'll see me copy and paste at times. Okay, so on Windows, to copy, you want to do Shift-Control-C according to this document. Now, it may change later. You may be able to just do Control-C, so you'll want to experiment with that. But according to this document, which was last updated June 2014, you can see that on Windows, you want to do Shift-Control-C to copy something, and then Shift-Control-V to paste it. And on a Mac, it's just Command-C and Command-V. That's just your usual shortcut to do it. So if I go here, and if I just wanted to duplicate this line, I could select all of it, and then I could do Command-C on a Mac, but you would do Shift-Control-C on a Windows machine, and then I could create a new line and paste it, Command-V for a Mac or Shift-Control-V for Windows. So remember, let's undo any change we make here. This is just for demonstration. Now, another thing you're going to see me do quite a bit is save the file often. You want to get into the habit of saving your files often. Okay, so you can click right here to save, but there are some shortcuts for saving. You can do Control-S on both Mac or PC. That should work. So Mac or Windows, if you do Control-S, it should save the file for you. Okay, and you can tell if that save button right there kind of flickers. Okay, but if it's not saving for you, you'll want to use your mouse and actually click on it anytime you want to make a change to your document. So remember, save often. And you should also be able to do Command-S on a Mac to save. Okay, and then going down further, there's also find, which is very useful. So you can do Command-F on a Mac or Control-F on Windows. Go back here. So finding is useful if you want to find a specific piece of code or a word on a web page. So if you just do Command F on Mac or Control F, you'll get this search bar here, and then you can search any word and hit enter, and you'll see it'll match them for you whenever it finds a match. Okay, so that's useful. And then going further, you've also got this commenting and uncommenting. Okay, so you'll see me do this down the line quite a bit as well. So you can go over here, and in certain languages, this is HTML, there's also CSS, JavaScript, and Ruby, you can comment out code. That means that the browser won't render that code, okay, or the actual application won't render the code. And the way you can do that is select a chunk of code, either one line or multiple lines, and then according to this, you can do Command and / on a Mac or Control and / on Windows to comment it out. And you'll see what happens. If I do this on a Mac, there you go. It's kind of grayed it out, and that means the browser won't render that. So I'm going to go ahead and undo that. On a Mac, you can undo with Command Z, okay? But according to this document here, if we go down to the bottom, you can also do Control U or Command U according to this, and it should undo as well. So for Windows, it's Control U. On a Mac, it's Command U. You may want to try Control Z as well on Windows to undo. So we're going to do undoing quite a bit as well, because we'll write things and then we'll want to change them down the line. So it's really useful to be able to hit undo. So if I made a change like this, I can just undo it really quickly on a Mac with Command Z, just like that. Or Control U or Command U. Okay? So now, one last thing that I want to point out for you as well, when we're doing our HTML, okay, there's going to be a lot of times when we're going to have to tab over multiple lines at the same time. So you'll see me select a bunch of HTML like this, and then just hit the tab key on my keyboard. And then to tab it backwards, you can do Shift Tab, just like that. So we'll do that with HTML, we'll do that with CSS, we'll even do it with our Ruby code. You just need to be able to tab in multiple lines, and all we're doing is just shifting its location on the page, okay? So keep that in mind as well. So those are a few tips for you, and in general, I recommend that you check out this help.nitrous.io webpage if you're ever kind of confused about how the interface works. There's a lot of really good, useful information here. Now, a couple last points I want to make. If you find yourself having strange issues that you just can't quite figure out, a good habit is to go over to your boxes screen, okay? And I just opened it in a new tab by holding Command and then clicking on it. You should be able to do a similar thing by holding Control and clicking on a link. It should open a new tab for you if you're on a Windows machine. And then going over here to your boxes screen, if you have strange issues with Nitrous, you can always just shut it down or restart it, okay? And then just go back to your IDE. That's usually a good habit if you have weird things happening that you really can't quite figure out. Try that first. And then finally, if you've made an irreversible change during this course that you just can't seem to go backwards on, then worst case scenario, you can just go back over here and go to your account settings and then delete your account and then just create a new free account. Now, if you're far along in the course, that does mean you're going to have to lose your work. So you want to think of that as a worst case scenario option.